Hello everyone and welcome. This video we are going to take a look at the aces, the magician, and the number one in the tarot through the teachings of the Brotherhood of the Light, the Sacred Tarot. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the story of these, and I will also read some passages from this book about these cards, taking you into a much deeper spiritual messages and symbolism of these cards and what they represent. And I just need to preface and say that the Sacred Tarot is based off of ancient Egyptian teachings around the tarot, and the Rider-Waite deck is just a recreated version of a different version of a different version that goes way, way, way back. So some of the things referenced in here may not make sense to you, and the reason for that is it's based off of a far more ancient tarot deck and teaching and meaning of the original form, which over the different ages, these cards, their meanings has been changed slightly, some of them, and some of them have been moved around in the major arcana. Okay, so just know that we are taking a look at the ancient Egyptian teachings of the tarot, the symbolism, and what it meant. And the point of this video is meant to really enhance and enrich your current knowledge of the tarot if you are seasoned, or this is good information if you are a beginner. And if you are somebody who just likes to watch readings on YouTube, learning the deeper symbolism and meaning of each card will help make those general readings much more personalized for you. All right, so we're going to start with the story of the aces and how it ties in to the magician. So the Ace of Swords, the representation of thought, of consciousness, right? All things begin with thought. Even, different religions, it's all thought, the creation of the creator. So everything starts with thought. And from thought, an emotion is born, is invoked. Okay, and through that emotion that is born based upon this thought, an inspired action is received, prompted by the soul. And if that action is followed through, it creates the manifestation through the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, so there is a story of the aces connected, and all of these aces, the story of the ace, all exists within the Magician card. And the Magician card is number one. Aces represent the first card of each suit of the tarot. Okay, so Ace of Swords, consciousness, communication, clarity, breakthrough, insight, truth. All right, and if you're asking about a relationship, if we have the Ace of Swords, this is talking about communication, conversation, being on the same page, nothing being hidden, everything out in the open. Reversed is the opposite of that. Lack of communication, miscommunication, lies, things being hidden. So the Ace of Swords is all about what is playing out in the mind. Okay, so no matter what question you are asking in a tarot reading, when this Ace of Swords comes out, you know that the rest of the reading, what it entails, is born of a thought, a very predominant thought within that person's mind. And then that leads us into the Ace of Cups. This is all about, emotions, right? Emotional happiness, something being offered that makes your heart overflow with happiness and joy. And see, the aces are always the beginning, the start of the journey. And so here it is, that thought, that predominant thought, and now there is a predominant emotion that has been created. So any question asked in a tarot reading, you see the Ace of Cups come out, you know that there is already a predominant emotion that has birthed into existence, into being. And then here we come to the Ace of Wands. This is all about inspired action, intuitive promptings, action you must take, motivation, ambition, movement. And so upright, it's always speaking of this is the action that needs to be taken to move forward into the manifestation. And this here, the action in which must be taken, has been born through the thought and the emotion, the father and the mother, and then here is the child, okay? And through the child, the action, then here it is into the physical reality, the realm, the gestation, and then the birth into the physical realm through the Ace of Pentacles. And you know, the Ace can talk about finances, contracts, offers, commitments. All right, it's the start of a new manifestation, or this manifestation through the Ace of Pentacles is opening the way for a new beginning, a new journey. A new door has opened. It's concrete, it's solid. All right, so really understanding what each Ace really represents in a reading will be very helpful to you, whether you're just observing and watching or you are doing the reading. Because remember, Ace of Swords is predominant thought is relevant to the reading. The Ace of Cups, predominant emotion relevant to the reading. The Ace of Wands, a predominant action relevant to the reading. The Ace of Pentacles, a manifestation is coming because these three steps have been taken place. And now that leads us to the Magician. Within the Magician, all things are contained to be the alchemist, to create what we desire, right? Well, that's because, you know, and sometimes when people say that, oh, the Magician, you have everything you need, it's like, well, what do you mean I have everything I need? What that entails is you have the power of your thought, of your mind. You have the power of and force of your emotion. You have the power of your personal will, all right, to become the alchemist, to bring forth that manifestation that you truly desire through the Ace. And in a reading, Aces showing up together or paired with the Magician, they have more power because they are connected by the number one, the beginning, the start of all things, the thought, the start of all creation, all right? The emotion in which gives it life, the action in which feeds it and grows it so it can birth into reality. So when the Magician shows up in a reading, that is telling you there is high potential, major possibility that this person is blessed on this path, is blessed in what they are reaching for. Okay, now when the Magician is reversed, this very well could mean this person is in their own way. Their mental body is out of whack. They're in lower vibrational thoughts and fears. Their emotional body is out of whack. All right, they're very emotionally charged over things, which prevents them from feeling motivated or tuned into those intuitive promptings of actions that need to be taken, and therefore the manifestation that results is nothing that they desire, nothing that they truly have hoped for. All right, and you know, the Magician means so many different things. It's magical, it's possibility, everything's gonna work out, it's blessed, but reversed, it's trickery, it's lies, it's dark energy, it's black magic, okay? And just depending on the question that is asked in a reading and the cards that aspect, you know, the Magician, it will tell the whole story. These are just the basics, the starting points. But any reading that you do and you have multiple aces or an ace in the Magician, know that this is a powerful time of new beginning, fresh starts. The path is just opening up. Opportunity is coming in, but the different actions have to be followed through to bring forth that manifestation. And also with aces, received in a reading upright, they are always a yes. So you're asking yes or no question. You get any ace upright, it's a yes. It's going to happen, okay? But remember the process and how all things must be followed through. And the same with the Magician. It's a very, very strong yes coming out upright. In reverse, it's no's, okay? It's no's across the board. So just depending on the questions asked, sometimes you'll be asking about emotions and you get nothing but pentacle, okay? It doesn't mean that you're not getting an answer or that spirit is trying to lead you off to a different subject. What it's saying is if you're asking about emotions but pentacles are showing up, it means that there is interference in the physical realm, or energies in the physical realm, somebody's life, patterns of behavior, routine, something is off, which is preventing the emotional fulfillment. Or in relationship, asking about how somebody feels about a person, and you get mostly pentacles, it's very superficial, it's for personal gain, all right? The Ace of Swords, talking about the mind, the consciousness, but this is also about communication. And for me personally, the Ace of Swords is always a representation of Archangel Michael, truth and protection if we so desire, because sometimes we're searching for an answer, but we're not ready for the truth, or we can't face the truth. And when we ask Archangel Michael to bring the truth, he's going to bring it, no sugarcoat. It's going to be blunt. It's going to be straight. It's going to be forward. So if you are connecting with Archangel Michael and the Ace of Swords comes out in a reading, that is his sign that I am with you. And the cards that follow are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but. And even though the truth can be painful sometimes, I tell you the painful truth to protect you, to free you, to liberate you, okay? Because the sword is all about being able to break through any barrier, having the mental strength, the consciousness ability to expand far beyond the box, the limitation of belief, of imagination, and pulling into another dimension for the answer, the solution, the new insight, okay? Every single thing in existence started with a thought. That is so important to understand with this Ace of Swords. This truly, all aces are beginnings, but the Ace of Swords is like the beginning, all right? Because it represents the starting point of all things, thought. And from thought, everything else is born, truly. Emotions, actions, manifestations. So when this Ace of Swords is in any reading, it is very significant. Even though it's a minor arcana, see it as a major arcana. Archangel Michael, the starting point of all things, thought. And so if you're doing a reading and you're getting all these reversed cards, whether Ace of Swords is upright or reversed, but it's just like a really bad read, and the Ace of Swords is in the mix, it's because this person's mind is all mixed up. They are truly in their own way. They overthink, they overanalyze. Their thoughts are all jumbled. They're very fear-based. They can't make a connection to their thought and their emotion, action or lack thereof, and what manifests for them. Okay, so you can be looking at this whole story of all these bad things playing out in this person's life. All of that is just like junk detail. It's irrelevant. This right here is the only card that would matter. You would see, okay, it's your mind, it's your thoughts, it's what you entertain on the daily over and over and over and over. It's impacting you in a very negative way. Now, if you see this Ace of Swords and it's a beautiful read, you know this person has been holding it high in the mental realm, really being positive, keeping their emotions up, pushing through the hard times, following through on all inspired action, and they will receive a very positive manifestation from their efforts, okay? When you're doing a reading and any of the aces are in reverse, that is telling you that person's energy is out of whack in that area. Even if they're asking about a relationship, what's my compatibility, or I'm in a fight with this person, and you get a couple of aces reversed, you're gonna know. Let's just say Ace of Wands and Ace of Swords is reversed in a reading about love. This means things are hidden. There's a huge lack of communication, and there is no action or effort being put forth to correct this energy. And that could go on both sides, okay? The one person who's asking, who's worried, like, I don't understand, it's they're running in a hamster wheel in their own head over and over, trying to figure out what's wrong, what can I do better, you know, just really overanalyzing about the other person involved who is not communicating, hiding things, not making any effort or action that's needed. All right, so it can speak of two people in the same read, and it's talking about the different sides of things. Okay, if you are doing a romantic reading and you get the Ace of Swords reversed, the Magician reversed, but the Ace of Cups upright, that tells you it's bad news. It is bad news. Magician reversed is I am manipulating, I am using my charms, I am manipulating somebody's emotions to get what I want, I'm lying, I'm hiding things, I'm pretending that this is real love. Ace of Cups upright, but it's not. It's for personal gain. Ace of Swords, Magician reversed. Okay, so no card, not even the aces, which are the beginning, the start of all things, are always positive or always negative. Every card is truly neutral. It really matters on how the other cards around it, the story that's being told with all of them together. And the aces and the Magician, they have a special relationship because each of these aces exists inside of this Magician. So all the aces in one card here, okay? And the Magician is very powerful energy. It means there is potential, there is blessing, there's high probability of things. And you know, you could even have a reversed ace with being aspected very well, and it doesn't mean the ace is a negative ace in that reading. It just means that energy is out of whack. It needs to be addressed somehow, some way. All right. Let me see if anything else is coming to me to share about these aces before we get into the book and take a much different look at these aces and this Magician. Just know that every detail on every single tarot card is significant and represents something. And in a couple hours or a day, you could learn the basic meaning of every single card. But it's truly a lifetime relationship with each individual card, to where you will fully get the tarot. I've been doing this for at least 20 years now, and I'm telling you, my relationship is still growing with each and every tarot card and the way it speaks to me and the message that it brings forth. All right, so just keep that in perspective, and remember, some of the information in here may be opposite of what you see on these cards, or counter to what you already know. So get comfortable and let's get a lesson from the Brotherhood of the Light about all of this. Okay. So in this book, the Magician is referred to as the Magus. Arcana 1, the Magus, related to the number 1, astrologically, the planet Mercury, the color violet, and the tone B. Occult science, esoteric psychology, human function, the spiritual body, natural remedy, mental treatments, mineral and metal Mercury. Arcana 1 expresses in the spiritual world absolute being, which contains and from which emanates the infinity of possibility. In the intellectual world, unity, principle, and synthesis of numbers, and the will, principle of acts. In the physical world, man, the highest placed of relative being, who is called upon to raise himself by a perpetual expansion of his faculties in the spheres of the absolute. In divination, Arcana 1 may be read briefly as will or dexterity. Arcana 1 is pictured by a magus, type of perfect man, that is to say, in full possession of his moral and physical faculties. He is represented standing. It is the attitude of will which precedes action. His robe is white, image of purity, original and regained. A serpent biting its own tail serves him for a girdle. It is the symbol of eternity, which alone circumscribes his endeavors. His forehead is girt with the circle of gold. Gold signifies light, and the circle expresses the universal circumference in which gravitate all created things. The right hand of the magus holds a scepter of gold, surmounted by a circle representing spirit, symbol of the authority by spiritual attainment. He raises it towards heaven in a sign of aspiration to science, wisdom, and force. Above it is a four-pointed star, its rays extending heavenward. It is the overshadowing genius of his spiritual master, directing his effort and counseling him in his upward struggles. The left hand extends the index finger to the earth to show that the mission of the perfect man is to reign over the material world. The double gesture also expresses that the human will should reflect the divine will in order to produce good and prevent evil. Before the magus, upon a cubic stone, are placed a cup, a sword, and a piece of gold money, in the center of which is an engraved cross. The cup signifies the mixture of passions which contribute to happiness and unhappiness, according as we are their masters or their slaves. The sword signifies the work, the struggle which traverses obstacles, and the trials which sorrow submits us to. The coin, sign of determined value, is a symbol of realized aspirations, of work accomplished, and shows the sun of power conquered by the perseverance and efficiency of the will. The cross, seal of the infinite, by which the coin is marked, announces the ascension of that power in the spheres of the future. The cube upon which these symbols rests is the physical world, and has graven on its side an ibis to indicate that eternal vigilance is a necessity if physical limitation are to be surmounted. Numerologically, Arcana 1 expresses the absolute. It is the starting point of all measurements and suggests infinite possibilities. All that is proceeds from one cosmos, which contains all, and to which all ultimately must return. One is a synthesis, for nothing can be thought of without parts. It is the universal principle of existence, the creative intelligence of the deity, the motive force of the universe, which in man becomes will. In the macrocosm, it stands for unlimited potentiality, and in man for relative potency. It expresses the law of conservation of energy and the indestructibility of matter. Astrologically, Arcana 1 is the commencement of all work. It is formulated, and this is a mental activity. Before the universe became manifest, it was conceived within the spaces of the divine mind, from whence it was launched into objective evolution by the power of creative thought. Thus does mental activity correspond to the number 1. A magus is one skilled in magic, and magic is performed chiefly through the creation and visualization of mental images. The magus, therefore, is one in whom the power of the mind has been highly developed, and as in astrology, mental ability comes under the rulership of the planet Mercury. This planet must correspond to both 1 and the magus of Arcana 1. Thus does Arcana 1 represent the creative energy being directly, intelligently, in distinction to the second decade of 1, which is pictured by Arcana 10, the planet Uranus, representing one universal force understated. It also differs markedly from the third decade of 1, pictured by Arcana 19, corresponding to the zodiac sign Leo, representing the application of this energy to the attainment of happiness and the elaboration of domestic bliss. In these 3 arcana, each picturing the one universal fertile force being used on a different plane, we have a complete commentary on the necessity of using the creative energies properly if any high degree of spirituality is to be obtained. Without fertility, without an abundance of creative power, nothing of importance can be accomplished in any field. Yet if this creative energy is generated in abundance and is permitted to act without proper guidance, it brings many abrupt changes in fortune, and through instability prevents little worthwhile being accomplished. If it is directed into mental channels alone, it yields intellectual power. But when diverted into refined emotions, such as true love and holy aspirations, it furnishes a power which attracts to the soul the highest spiritual bliss. Arcana 1, relating to the human function. The spiritual body of man is constructed by states of consciousness having intensity enough to affect spiritual substance. Man does not possess a spiritual body merely by virtue of being man. He possesses it when, through the refinement of his thoughts and aspirations, he has provided energy of a proper quality to build it. And only when the creative energies are active is there generated enough power, if it can be directed by ecstatic emotions, quickly to build anything on any plane. By a proper mental attitudes towards them, all experiences may be made to contribute to this finer form. But to build anything on any plane quickly, there must be an abundance of the proper kind of energy, and this applies to the building of a spiritual body as well as to more material things. Arcana number 1, relating to alchemy. In alchemy, Arcana 1 represents the most important of all discoveries, the Philosopher's Stone. Tradition informs us that any object touched with this stone is converted into gold. This touchstone of alchemy is truth, for when truth is pressed against anything, its eternal principles are revealed, and these all-enduring qualities thus obtain constitute the gold of their underlying nature. Truth is correct knowledge, and this correct knowledge, if comprehensive, embraces the proper relation of souls and things to all other entities and forces. Thus, truth is a freeing and transmuting power, a feeling as well as an intellectual perception, and when fully realized, it results in deep aspiration and in an unutterable longing and determination for a more perfect life. The Arcana 1 relating to the Bible. Even as Arcana 1, the Magus, is the opening page of the Book of Thoth, as the Egyptians sometimes called the Tarot, so the Bible also opens with the principle of creative activity. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. It is a principle especially revered by the Jews, constantly referred to throughout the Bible, nor has it been entirely ignored in the New Testament, for the last chapter of the first book contains a clear, even if brief, exposition of Arcana 1, the Magus. Revelations 22:13. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Arcana 1 as it pertains to Masonry. The EA degree of Masonry is founded upon Arcana 1. This Arcana represents the candidate who has been admitted into the lodge, presented with the Masonic implements, and prepared to undergo initiation. Arcana 1 as it relates to magic. Arcana 1 indicates the importance of a thorough preparation before any feat of magic is attempted. Every principle involved and every implement used should be fully understood. The chief implements, including the magic wand, are depicted. The scepter indicates that the virility of some intelligence, either on this plane or another, is back of all magical phenomenon. The star indicates the participation of an intelligent form, another plane in the work, from another plane in the work. In magic, there are 4 operations, which are here symbolized by the 4 implements. The first operation, that of formulation, which means building the thing clearly in the mind. It is also represented by the Arcana as a whole. Arcana 1 related to initiation. In the soul's pilgrimage, Arcana 1 represents the stage in which manhood has been attained and self-consciousness realized. He has learned the transitory and elusive nature of physical possessions and has placed his feet once and for all upon the road leading ultimately to adeptship. He realizes that success depends entirely upon his own efforts. In his aspirations, he has raised his vibration so that he tunes in on the intelligence of the spiritual plane as signified by the star, and at critical times asks and receives guidance from this source. He moves forward henceforth with supreme confidence and sustained by an unwavering determination. Arcana 1 as it relates to occult science. The science of esoteric psychology embraces the complete field of mental activity, not merely on the physical plane, but on all planes where intelligence has expression. The ancients placed so great importance upon the development of will power that they formulated a science of the will, the various phases of which each have a correspondence to one of the major arcana of the tarot. In expressing this, the name of each major card is taken as an emblem of some special principle involved. This science of the will, as given in an ancient Egyptian initiation, is as follows. In uniting successfully the 22 signifiers which emanate from these symbols, their end symbol is summed up in the term the Zenithus of magic. And then this just goes into all of the arcana, all 22 of the major arcana cards. So we will skip that since we are only focused on the first arcana, the Magus. I not only earnestly recommend to all students that they commit, that was part of that, okay. So now we're going to move into the aces a little bit, and this is going to be where you notice a difference in meaning between the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles of what is typically known or taught today. And remember, this is based upon the ancient interpretation, Egyptian interpretation of the tarot. As previously indicated, the suit of the scepters, which in common playing cards is the suit of the clubs, which would be wands, symbolizes the element of fire. This in human life becomes enthusiasm, ambition, and enterprise. Consequently, this suit belongs to the department of life having to do with business, occupation, reputation, honor, and profession. In astrology, it represents where the sun appears at noon. The suit of the cups, which in common playing cards becomes the suit of the hearts, represents the element of water, symbol of the emotions, and typical of domestic and affectional relations. It thus broadly corresponds to the western angle of the birth chart, where the sun sinks below the horizon. The suit of the swords, which in common playing cards becomes the suit of the spades, represents the element of earth, symbol of struggle, allied to affliction and death. It is thus corresponds to the nadir, where the sun is in its grave or the lowest point in the cycle. The suit of the coins, which in common playing cards becomes the suit of diamonds, represents the element of air, the breath of life. Air is merely one form of food, although the most essential of all. The other foods may be purchased with money, and thus money has become the symbol of life itself. It therefore corresponds to the ascendant of the birth chart, where the newborn sun each day rises above the eastern horizon. The aces. In astrology, Mercury is a general signifier of study, writing, correspondence, and travel. As the aces correspond numerically to Mercury, in their more commonly divinatory significance, they relate to one of these things, according to the particular department of life signified by that suit. But in their application to higher planes, they reveal the influence of, and can be interpreted by, the first decante of each zodiac, triplicity, starting of course with the movable signs. The divinatory significance of the Ace of Scepters, Ace of Wands, is news of business opportunity. Its inner interpretation is activity. The divinatory significance of the Ace of Cups is a letter from a loved one. Its inner interpretation is moods. The divinatory significance of the Ace of Coins is a short journey. Its inner significance is policy. The divinatory significance of the Ace of Swords is news of sickness. Its inner interpretation is organization. All right, so that is some deeper and different information around the Magician and the Aces, as well as the number one, coming from the ancient Egyptian teachings and interpretation of the tarot. And some of the description of the Magician in this book does not match the Rider-Waite version of the Magician, so you'll notice some discrepancy there. So I hoped that this has helped shed some insight, expanded your consciousness. I will be making more videos just like this for each of the tarot cards. I am sending you guys lots of love and light. Take care.